hear the word non-attachment, likely you already have some kind of idea of what the word means based on your individual experience. Non-attachment really can mean different things to different people, and what I wanted to share today was just what non-attachment means from my own perspective and my own experiences, rooted in spiritual teachings, but also with my own take on it. In different traditions such as Buddhism, the concept of non-attachment can be taken quite literally, where you release the life that you're living now, let go of your family, friends, loved ones, and your possessions, your job, and dedicate your life to living usually in a Buddhist monastery or some sacred space, and you dedicate your life to meditating and freeing yourself and others from the ocean of cyclic existence. This is believed to be a path towards enlightenment that a lot of people take. My perspective and understanding of this journey to enlightenment is that we each have our own individual paths, and just because a path worked out for someone before, it doesn't mean that that needs to be your path. But at the same time, if you are really feeling that call to living and moving to a monastery and shedding yourself of all of these things and dedicating yourself to a life of meditation and freeing yourself from cyclic existence in this way, then I think we really should honor what our soul is really calling of us, because that could be the path that you are meant to take to get yourself towards enlightenment. And for others, this could mean something else. In my individual experience, as much as I would love to move to live on the woods in some commune with friends and just let go of society, I feel partly like I'm here to contribute to society in some way. So letting go of all of my belongings and my life at this moment does not feel like the exact path for me. When I think of non-attachment, I think of it a little bit less literally. So still being able to live in this human experience integrated into society, but just without the mental attachment to it. There's a quote that says, "Detachment does not mean that you should own nothing. It means that nothing should own you." And I really enjoy this quote because I think, especially with the minimalist movement that is happening and parts of the spiritual movement getting integrated into Western society, we can take things a bit extreme. And again, for some people, that is their path, and that is perfect. I really resonate with the teachings of Marie Kondo. She has her book out, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and I really found it moved me. I got into minimalism before. I thought that it needed to be this extreme version where you just shed yourself of everything, and I did get rid of a lot of things. But what I like about the KonMari method is that she gets you to go through all of your belongings individually and hold on to it and ask, does this spark joy? And then if it doesn't, to let go of that. I really do believe that that is the efficient way to not owning so many things, and it really does make you look at your life and reevaluate the people that are in your life, the friendships that you're cultivating, the things that you do with your day. It really makes you think about these things when you're deciding how you want to write the story of your life, to write one with more joy instead of one that you're kind of just sleepwalking through. And it does make you appreciate the things that you have a little bit more and the people that are in your life. I feel like I'm getting a little bit off topic when it comes to non-attachment, but I just want to clarify that my beliefs with non-attachment is not that you should own nothing. It's exactly what that quote said, that nothing should own you. I love my belongings, I cherish them, I take care of them, but I don't feel like they define me or that I would be nothing without them. I think that another thing that the KonMari method and also just minimalism really encourages is not just mindless spending and mindlessly wasting your time, but to be a bit more intentional with the things that you invite into your home, into your body, and into your life. When it comes to manifesting, I think that non-attachment is probably one of the most important parts of it that oftentimes gets overlooked. I like to think of manifesting sort of like a bow and arrow. So you get an idea in mind, you take hold of your bow, and your arrow is the idea that you have. So you're pulling the arrow back. I've never shot a bow before, so I'm not gonna hold it properly, but you're pulling back the arrow. So you're aiming for the vision. You're pulling it back, and when you're pulling it back, you're doing that inner work, you're doing that visualizing, you're doing that goal setting, and that's that pulling back. But the part about this that I think, in my analogy at least, it makes sense, and in my own experience, the letting go of it was the biggest part of actually manifesting it. So you're holding it back, and a lot of people get stuck in that part where they think that they have to hold that focus and keep your eye on the target. It's not gonna happen until you actually let go of the vision and let the universe or God or whatever it is take the arrow to where you are aiming it towards. I think we get caught and we get stuck in this visualizing point of manifesting, and we forget that the surrendering of it and the trusting in the universe is probably the most important thing. Some people say that you need to feel worthy, and maybe part of that is true, but I think the biggest part of manifesting is the letting go and the trusting in it. My midwifery dream was one of the biggest things that I was trying to manifest that was difficult for me because, well, the first year that I applied, I was so caught in, I was on the wait list, and I was so caught in, I'm such a good manifester, I deserve this, I can do this, and I clung to the idea that I needed it. And it was the next year when I reapplied, right before I felt like I had reached a point where I did so much inner work, and I prayed for it, and I longed for it, and I felt that release of the arrow that, okay, I trust in my path, I trust in God, in the universe, and wherever it lands, whenever it lands, will be perfect. And then I got in. And this has happened with other things too, but that was just one of the biggest examples in my life. And I really like that analogy of the bow and arrow because I think that that part of it is so important, that surrendering to the divine will, the divine timing, and just trusting that our paths will align in such a beautiful way. And we might feel that our mind needs to intellectualize everything, and our mind does have this tendency to do this, and we think that life needs to be a certain way, but really our lives can unfold in such a beautiful way if we just let go and trust in that divine wisdom. This is reminding me of one of the lessons of one of my teachers. He said, I don't buy suffering, so he doesn't believe in suffering. There are a lot of people on this spiritual path that get caught up in this concept of needing to suffer in order to grow. And while it's true that there will always be hardships in our lives, suffering really is of the mind. I want to make this message clear too, because there is the other side of it, which is spiritual bypassing, where you think that you transcend an experience instead of actually witnessing and experiencing it. You just label something as not spiritual or feelings as non-spiritual, or the whole positive vibes only movement, and thinking that you don't need to feel these heavy feelings or do this shadow work. So instead you are on the opposite side of that, which is spiritual bypassing. This is not what I am getting into with the idea of not suffering. What suffering is and why we don't necessarily need to suffer even in those moments of hardships is the resistance to what is. So that is what causes suffering. When we resist the changes and the hard feelings that come with these hardships, that really is what suffering is. Instead of letting the situations alchemize and change your being and sitting in those deep moments of sorrow or whatever it is and fully witnessing this vast human experience, that resistance to the moment is suffering. Even if you feel something and maybe it's lasting longer than you thought it would or would like it to, and labeling it as wrong, that is suffering. Not letting something take its time to move through you, not witnessing the process that this is bringing up, that is suffering. When we fight what is and fight the process that's happening because of the situations in our lives, or label our situations as needing to be a certain way, that is suffering. That resistance to what is suffering. And that is what we don't need to necessarily have in our lives. If you are still going through a hard experience, and maybe it's been months or years that you have been in this feeling of sorrow or grief, and you think that you should be different, well, it's okay to be. It's okay to be. There's nothing wrong with where we are in our certain situations. We are just these souls that have come here to live this human experience, and that involves these feelings of sadness and grief, and also these feelings of joy and ecstasy and love. These are all part of the human experience. And the suffering comes when we tell ourselves that we should be feeling a different way than we are, or we're resisting these feelings. And another part too of this that I want to make sure is clear in my message is that it's okay to feel like you can't take on those hard feelings. And maybe it's taking longer because you haven't been able to sit with the hard feelings. And I just want to be clear on it that some feelings are really hard to feel, and sometimes we need to take our time to actually feel the feelings and sit with them. And that's another part that I'm trying to say with the suffering, is that idea that we need to have worked through these things, or we need to feel these feelings at this specific time. Take your time with things. Life can be really hard, and we're all going through our own traumas, and also healing from childhood traumas that we might have had too, that teach us to block ourselves off when we experience these hard feelings. So just trusting in your process and trusting in your timing. And the resistance isn't the resistance to the experience. The resistance that I am talking about is the resistance of your mind needing to label things as needing to happen in a certain time when they will happen in their own time. The biggest thing for me about non-attachment is really surrendering and realizing that you are exactly where you are meant to be. That even if your mind tells you that you should be somewhere else, or society tells you that you should be somewhere else, non-attachment is letting go of that. It's letting go of the expectation or the beliefs or the labeling of your mind that things need to be a certain way, instead of allowing your life to unfold the way that it is meant to, with the ease and the difficulties, but the surrendering of letting go of what your mind tells you that your life needs to be like, instead of allowing it to just unfold and be in the way that it is. While we're on this topic of non-attachment, I think it's really important to discuss the topic of love when it comes to non-attachment. The love that you seek is within you. So no one else outside of you can fulfill those needs but yourself. And when we release our expectations on our partner to fulfill these unmet needs within ourselves, and when we release these expectations of how our partners should be or how our friends should be, then we really allow ourselves to show up fully in our lives, and we give the people in our lives the chance to be themselves. And that really is love. When we learn to realize and appreciate ourselves and our own worthiness, we become unattached to the people in our lives that don't appreciate us and don't show up for us when we need them to. Sometimes we put a lot of pressure on the people around us, and really this blocks us from love, and it blocks them too. And blocks that love from flowing abundantly between us. I see this in the spiritual community, and I wanted to mention this because you might have seen a lot about twin flames lately and the one, and I get it. I've felt that way too, and I've been there. I think that one of the reasons that I am open and seeing these things is because I have spent a lot of time looking into it based on my own experience. I think that there's a lot of healing and wisdom that needs to be unlocked with this whole twin flame movement that is happening, because first of all, I don't want to get into this too much because this video isn't about that, but a lot of the times these people are just in soulmate or karmic relationships and think that it is a twin flame because it is a toxic relationship, and for some reason it's taught that twin flames need to be toxic, and a lot of the times what it really is that your attachment wounds and your abandonment wounds have been activated, and maybe you think that this is that because you want to associate it with that and you have these strong feelings, but a lot of the times it's probably not even that. It's just a toxic relationship that you are labeling it as that, because there's a lot of hype around the twin flame movement right now. That is beside getting out of my topic about non-attachment. In my personal experience going through this for many years now, I think to put that person on a pedestal is very unhealthy for both of you and really is taking you away from the spiritual journey. To believe that someone needs to be a certain person to you and that you need physical union to ascend really is taking you away from your spiritual journey. The idea that there is only one person out there that is meant to be with you is limiting in your experience, because really we are vibrating at a certain frequency. We will attract different souls at different times, and you could have beautiful experiences with different soulmates, but if you're focused on it needing to be this one person, you are limiting yourself. That is an attachment that is unhealthy and that is taking you away from experiencing and living this moment now and appreciating the people that are in your life now because you think that it needs to be a certain way. I think that it is so far from what this journey should actually be. If you are meant to ascend in this lifetime, do you really think that this is getting you there? That striving and hoping and longing for one specific person because it needed to be with them? Does that make any sense to you when you think about it? That you need a 3D physical union with this other person to be able to ascend is limiting to yourself. It is taking your power away, and it is an attachment that we need to let go of. And I'm sorry, I don't like on my videos saying that we need to, but this has been my experience, and I've recognized that this has taken me from my experience for years, and it has been an unhealthy thing for me, and I see it a lot in the spiritual community. And I see many of these people, many of them are women. I'm sure there are men too. I don't mean to put a gender on it, but a lot of the times it's people embodying the divine feminine that feel this striving to be with their masculine, and it's taking your power away. You are whole. You embody both the divine feminine and the divine masculine within you. You do not need a physical union to ascend in this lifetime. If you follow what the teachings are actually saying about this union, really it's mostly about your mission anyways. So are you doing your mission, or are you focusing on it needing to be with that other person? Because there's nothing that other person is going to complete in you. You need to be complete in yourself, and everything else in your life will mirror that. So if you're constantly striving for something that is outside of yourself, you will never be fulfilled. This is non-attachment, letting go of the idea that your life needs to be a certain way, letting go of the idea that people need to behave a certain way, letting go of friendships that are not working out anymore and that just aren't people that aren't showing up for you in the way that you deserve to. You deserve to be loved and cherished, and you are worthy of living an amazing life. So give yourself permission to let go of expectations, let go of attachments to a life that you think that you need to live, and just give yourself the space and the ease for your life to unfold in the way that it is meant to. Feel and witness what you need to in your time when you are ready, because you're worthy of living an amazing life, and these attachments are getting in the way of you living fully in an embodied life. So that's my biggest wish for you, all of you watching. Thank you for watching and subscribing and liking. Please comment and share your opinions, share whatever you want. I want to hear it. I want to hear from you. I appreciate you. And may you live a life that causes your soul to dance inside of your body.